It's a pleasure to have you join us on Money Matters on TV 360 Nigeria. I'm Okbayemi Owosheni. We start off with business news. The Nigerian Customs Service has suspended the implementation of the widely criticized 4% free on-board value on import. A statement signed by the Customs National Public Relations Officer Abdullahi Maiwada disclosed the latest development on February 11th in Abuja. The amount as stipulated in Section 18, subsection 1A of the Nigerian Customs Service Act of 2023 has already raised concerns among businesses struggling with high operating costs. Maiwada said the suspension presents an opportunity to review the revenue framework holistically. We'll go on a short break now and be back with corporate stories. Welcome back. Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals has reduced the cost of its diesel product to 1,020 naira per litre, down from 1,075 naira per litre at the gantry price, in an effort to better serve its customers and Nigerians in general. Since it began diesel production in January 2024, the refinery has reduced the price of diesel more than 3 times, from an initial 1,700 naira per litre to the current rate, thus providing much-needed relief to manufacturers and consumers alike. The latest reduction of 55 naira per litre for diesel follows the revelation by Ken Ife, a development economist and public policy analyst, that the Dangote Petroleum Refinery sacrificed over 10 billion naira to ensure the availability of petrol at a uniform price across the country during the youth-out period. We'll take a breather here, but when Money Matters return, we're discussing the CBN announcing a revision of transaction fees for automated teller machines. I'll bring you details after this break. Welcome back. The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced a revision of transactions fee for automated teller machines. In a circular signed by John Onoja, the acting director of the Financial Policy and Regulation Department, the Apex Bank disclosed that international ATM withdrawals will be charged according to the rates set by the international acquirer. The Apex Bank attributed the review to rising costs and the need to enhance efficiency in ATM operations. The CBN has directed all financial institutions to comply with the new fee structure ahead of the March 1st implementation. The regulator emphasized that these adjustments aim to improve ATM service efficiency while ensuring that charges remain fair and appropriate for consumers. Now, with these new adjustments, customers withdrawing at the ATMs of their banks and financial institutions will be charged, while customers withdrawing from ATM of other banks would now be charged 100 naira per every 20,000 naira. The CBN said that for off-site ATMs not on a bank's premises, like those at shopping malls, eateries and other public places, a subcharge of no more than 500 naira per every 20,000 naira will apply, in addition to the statutory 100 naira fee for withdrawals by customers of other banks' ATMs. This announcement by the Apex Bank comes when Nigerians are still trying to adjust to the 50% increase in telecommunication tariffs. Now let's discuss this further. Top economist Shaibu Idris now joins me on the program. Thank you for your time, Mr. Idris. So what are your thoughts on the CBN's... Yeah, thank you, sir. What are your thoughts on the CBN's plan to apply charges for transactions on automated teller machines? Do you think it's a necessary charge, seeing that most ATMs in the country are non-functional?
Oh, well, I will answer your question in 2 folds. Number one, charges are necessary so that the banks can recover, the cost of operation, particularly given the challenges businesses are facing in the country. You are talking of, an entity called Nigeria, where each and every one of us, we are a mini government. You have to provide for water, you have to provide for electricity, road network, everything you can think of that ordinarily we should be taken for granted, we are still having to grapple with. Imagine a branch of a bank operating say 24 hours, 7 days a week on diesel. How much diesel will they consume and at what rate? Remember, the shareholders of the banks are investors and they are expecting for returns. So is it necessary to charge? Yes, it is necessary to charge. But how much is fair? To the best of my knowledge and belief, 100 naira, per 20,000 naira withdrawal from a bank is a bit on the high side. I would have thought maybe a charge of 5 naira, 10 naira, at most 20 naira on every 20,000 naira withdrawal from the bank will be much more than appropriate. Noting the fact that there are other charges associated with such a withdrawal. You have to pay, transaction fee, you have to pay stamp duty fees, you have to pay even for the transaction alert that been sent to you. The charges by the GSM service operators has just been increased. So the text message that we receive, instead of about 4 naira that we are being charged, even though these banks are supposed to subsidize, such charges, instead of asking us to pay 4 naira, they should be charging us maybe 1 naira 20 kobo, 1 naira 50 kobo, at most 50, 20, 1 naira, 2 naira per, say SMS, because it's a bulk SMS they are sending. You will see that by the time you calculate and accumulate transaction cost on a typical 20,000 naira withdrawal, a customer may be paying between 750 to 1,000 naira if care is not taken. Will this be good for an economy that is grappling with enormous amount of, quantum of the businesses that are not captured in the financial ecosystem of the country? This can be a disincentive to banking.
Now, like you mentioned, charges are very important, and one of the reasons the Apex Bank gave is that it will address rising operational costs and also enhance efficiency in the banking sector. Now, are you convinced that these new charges will guarantee better user experience and also improve ATM service and reliability, or do you think it's just going to be an increment that happens every now and then without any changes?
I beg to differ, with that reason. Should we first look at the possibility of having an efficient environment before you begin to charge me? Or should I pay you so that you now give me efficient environment? Why are there investors in the bank in the first instance? This efficiency they are talking about, will these charges dovetail to, say, better electricity supply? Will these charges enhance, say, reliability of internet banking that each and every one of us grapple with? The data, is epileptic, even the telephony, the voicemail, you are speaking and is cutting. So these monies that are being charged, are they going to be transferred to, say, the GSM service operators? Are they going to be transferred, say, to the distribution agency, the electricity distribution agency, or the generating companies, or the transmission company of Nigeria? So this amorphous statement that these charges will enhance efficiency of the system, I think is gimmick, and the central bank and the people behind the central bank should come out of this gimmick and allow the customers a space to breathe. We need to breathe because we are being strangulated. Right now, a number of people that I've been discussing with, I just came into Lagos yesterday from Kaduna, and I was in quite a number of nooks and crannies of Kaduna. I was in Zaria, I was in Giwa, I was in 2 other localities. The remote part of Nigeria, people are complaining about the excessive charges banks are heaping on them. Last week, a POS operator that I occasionally use to get Naira from, a young lady by name Biodun, you won't believe, she told me that, oh, Alaji, I normally have to incentivize bank tellers to be able to get cash. So if I go as a customer, I want to withdraw 100,000 naira, the bank denies me that opportunity to withdraw 100,000 naira. I can only take 20,000 naira. But when I come to relate with a POS operator, on 100,000 naira, I am charged 2,000 naira. I mean, come of it. And then when I complained, she said, Alaji, if you know what we go through, apart from the charges the bank does to us, we have to incentivize. Is it the way to run a financial system? Is it the way to run a banking environment? Is it the way to encourage people to patronize banks? I think Yemi Cardoso needs to have a rethink of the way and manner he is running the monetary system of governance in Nigeria.
All right, like you mentioned, so many Nigerians have expressed their displeasure with the continuous charges we've been seeing. Now, seeing very well that the CBN has attributed the increase to making sure bank services are very, very operational and functional, what other things do you think the federal government can do to ensure that people get the best experience when it comes to ATM as against increasing the charges?
I think with the recent development that the NCC, the Nigerian Telecommunication Commission, Communication Commission rather, the fact that they have allowed the GSM service operators an opportunity to increase tariffs, let's hope that investment will get into that sector of our national economy because it has become a critical aspect of our economy. Because without this service, GSM service operators operating efficiently and effectively, our system could easily grind to a halt or collapse. So let's hope that that will be good. But going further, I think it is high time that Nigerians, if our government is not able to provide electricity, government should declare a kind of state of emergency in the electricity sector. Where you are, picking my signal right now as we speak, for the last 3, 4 days, 5 days, even though we are on band A, there is no electricity. I mean, so how do you expect, efficiency of any sort? Now, the fact that there is inefficiency in a system will excruciating charges bring efficiency. Why do you want to whip a dead horse again? Nigerians are drowning. Taxation is getting higher. There is a proposal to increase value-added tax. There has been removal in subsidy from this aspect to that aspect of our lives. And then in addition to all this, there is no respite. It's just to increase charges, tax and tax and tax and tax. If they are not careful, there will not be anybody alive to be taxed again. I think the government and all government agencies should tread on the path of caution. Recently, my dear sister, even the customs agency are just, rumoring that they will introduce a 4% surcharge on free on-board goods. By the time you add all these charges, one wonders, where are we heading to? I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be told that there is need for him to remember that there are commoners in Nigeria. There are people who are not who are not able to have 3 square meals in a day. There are people who are barely surviving. So every form of taxation needs to be think out thoroughly before its implementation.
The advent of POS operators, because there's hardly any place in Nigeria that you will not get to see a POS operator. Now, there are still certain Nigerians that rely on ATM for cash. Now, especially in areas with limited banking experiences and services. Now, saying that we are not really sure if the federal government would reverse this new increment, do you think, or what do you say, we will say are the possible financial burdens on the average consumer, and what can they do to navigate this?
I think if you are saying that people have to use POS in areas where there are no banks. My dear sister, that is a bit putting it mildly. I live in Lagos, around Ikoyi area. My office is in central Lagos. You can imagine how many branches of banks are there, and yet I'm not able to get cash. Even when you walk up to the bank, you are not able to get cash. You are told you can only withdraw 20,000 naira. So uh, somebody living in Lagos, the financial capital of Nigeria, the nerve center of finance in Africa as a whole, you cannot get cash. So how much more of those, say, living around Ipe, Ikorodu, or Badagry areas of Lagos? Imagine the excruciating burden that this system of trying to hoodwink and force people to have ATM cards and then to be able to get into banks. You have to make it relatively easy for people to be able to operate the financial, in the financial system relatively easily. If you want to have a bank account today, they ask you for your national identity number. If you don't have, it's an issue. They ask you for utility bill. If you live in a face me, I face you building, or you live in a block of flat where you are having shared services like electricity 1 meter, water bill 1 meter, water system 1 meter, how do you get utility bill to be able to present to a bank to open an account with you for you? When you look at, the way we structure our rules, regulations, and policies, they are not generally friendly. And to worsen the situation, the charges will further drive away people from the financial system that we are trying to encourage people to embrace and get into. Charges, as you said, as we agree, may be necessary, but there should be some level of human face to the amount of charges that you want to collect for the fee. I ask you, must we charge to be able to have efficiency? In this era, in this day and age of technology, where you can use AI, you can use robotics to be able to enhance efficiency, enhance performance, by the time you are leveraging on technology, what are you expecting to see? You are expecting to see a downward spiral of cost and charges. So, but in our own climate, the other way around is it. Even though with technology, even though with fewer and fewer, front desk operators, what are we seeing? Charges are going up and up and up and up. Is that fair? Somebody somehow, somewhere should please endeavor to have a human face so that we can breathe. I keep saying we want to breathe. We can't breathe. The charges are enormous.
So at the moment in Nigeria, it seems like every sector is increasing their charges. The MPA recently approved a 15% increase for the Nigerian Port Authority, and then the NCC also approved a 50% increase for telecom operators in the country. Now, given the simultaneous increases in banking and telecommunication costs, how can you see the average Nigerian reducing ATM withdrawals and mobile transactions? Or what ripple effect do you think this might have on financial and economic activities in the country?
Honestly, since the commencement of this government, close to about 1,700 or 2,000 businesses, have closed down. These statistics are not manufactured. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria did bring out some of these figures. Even the Nigerian Bureau for Statistics brought out some of these statistics. Now, with increased charges, what will be happening is more and more and more businesses that are not able to pass on this cost to the consumers are likely going to fold off. And the implication of businesses folding off is that unemployment will increase, poverty level will increase, insecurity will increase. The consequences is enormous, to our corporate existence as a nation, because the charges, I repeat, the charges are too many. Nigerians wants to breathe. We are being strangulated. Like you have rightly said, MPA have increased charges. What do you think an importer who pays MPA additional 15% on the charges of bringing in his or her cargo through the Nigerian port? What do you think will happen to that company? The company will obviously work towards passing that cost to the consumer. And if care is not taken, these kind of charges could again backfire, because cargoes will be diverted to neighboring countries like Benin Republic, like Togo, and then people might be bringing in the cargo through the back door. Smuggling will then exacerbate. The moment you see that organizations such as MPA, Nigerian Port Authority, are not able to bring in additional revenue to the government, our government, the cost of governance, the source of the funding to finance the cost of governance wouldn't be available. So what happens? So if we are not careful, we are taking actions that will eventually cause the system to become a standstill at a point, because everybody will be so burdened on the various charges, taxes, fees, levies, and what have you. And I think I keep craving the indulgence of the finance minister, the economy minister, and indeed Mr. President himself, to please endeavor to have a rethink on some of these. We feel you. We know that you inherited an economy that was having some challenges. We know that there were policies that they should have been implemented 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they were not implemented. We encourage you, and we certainly, dub our heart that you have the courage to implement some of these policies. But please also have the courage to have a bit of a human feelings. Also have a courage to stagger the implementation of these policies. Also have the courage to reduce the cost of governance. Also have the courage to endeavor to realize that it is business unusual. So your spending, your ways of life, your ways of doing things needs to be significantly reviewed with a view to be making them in tune of the current reality, so that Nigerians will see that, yes, you are re-electable come 2027, and not to think that you are there, you are enjoying, and you are leaving us suffering.
All right, so now finally, briefly, the CBN has been pushing for a cashless economy for a very long time. Now, if the government is increasing banking costs while also making telecom services more expensive, do you think this can slow down financial inclusion and digital adoption instead of encouraging a cashless economy? And then what exactly can the government do better instead of increasing charges?
What I've told you is these charges, if any, are inimical to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals as espoused by the United Nations. Financial inclusion being one of them. So naturally, when you tax people, when you levy charges on transactions, don't I have another option? The answer is yes, there are options. We have been a bit concerned with the operation of cryptocurrency, because this is not a transaction that generally is within the purview of government. Chances are people will go underground and continue to operate through the cryptocurrency. We've been trying to make sure that dollar is unattractive to Nigerians. So it shouldn't be a store of value, because if we were to go by the actual demands for dollars for importation of raw materials and other services, the value of Naira will be somewhere around 950, maximum 980 Naira to a dollar, as opposed to what we have today at 1,400 or 1,500. Now, with this increase in charges, what the system, the regulators are pushing us to is to take flight to safety. Maybe we should be holding pound sterling, the euro or dollar to be transacting in such currencies as opposed to Naira. Because if I put in my Naira, number one, I can't access my Naira when I need to access my Naira. If I'm going to access it and I have to get the Naira, I have to pay for accessing my Naira. They don't pay us interest. Even on savings account, the interest is near zero. In an economy that is facing inflation of somewhere around 36, 37%, you are paying 2 or 3%. Is that income? Is that sustainable? For the current account holders, you don't get anything. And then you want to take your money, you charge me. And you are telling me I should come and patronize banks because more and more people should be, should be included in the financial system because we want to achieve, financial inclusion. No wonder a country of about 250 million population has less than 100 million bank accounts. These figures aren't palatable. This is not encouraging. So if we must endeavor if we must, encourage people to open bank accounts to get into the banking industry, the earlier we lower these charges and make them fair, reasonable, and affordable, the better. Otherwise, we should forget about having targets to achieve any financial inclusion of any sort, because I'm not sure if any, let's say, a laborer, choose my choice of word, a worker who earns salary. Let's say you are paid minimum wage of 70,000 Naira and you want to withdraw your 70,000 Naira, say 2-3 times, 20,000 Naira at each time. How much charges will you pay? By the time you look at that, a driver or a security man having to pay, let's say, 5,000 Naira on 70,000 Naira salary per month. Is that realistic? Is that fair? Is that reasonable? I mean, we should be human. We should be humane enough.
All right, let's hope that moving forward, the Nigerian government will put a hold on all of those charges we are seeing at this time, and they will do better. Top economist Shaibu Idris, many thanks for lending your thoughts on the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure that I'm having the opportunity to discuss this subject matter. I do pray that the government listen, they hear, and they listen, and they implement our suggestion, because it is in the overall interest of all of us, not just themselves, but even us that are citizens.
Let's hope that the government does that. Thank you so much for your time once again, sir. Well, that's it on this episode of the program. Many thanks for joining us. I'm Okbayemi Owosheni. See you next time.